Hello, David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. We are here for another Bond community. This is where I get to have a lot of fun. I introduce you to individuals I've known for many years that you may not know as well. Maybe you know them really well and you want to find out a little bit more about them. And I am here with the founder, the creator, the resonance behind James Bond Brasil. Wow, that was quite an intro. Marcos Kontze. Marcos, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a real pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, Dave. It's really fun to talk about our Bond experience together. So it's really a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And it's a pleasure for me. I tell you, one of the great things is Marcos and I got to spend some time together in London doing a bit about of James Bond events and immersive moments. But before that, I had followed him throughout his many adventures. A lot of you may have seen him, oh my gosh, on the red carpet with celebrities, on set. I mean, you seem to be everywhere, but let's start at the beginning. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
To those who are not initiated, what is James Bond Brazil?
Well, James Bond Brazil is actually it's today the main James Bond website in Brazil, and I risk to say that's one of the main Bond websites in Latin America. So I think the most what differentiate us from the other sites, Bond sites especially, is because we are the only Bond site that is speaking is written in Portuguese. So it's for, like I always say, it's always for the Portuguese readers and our followers, Brazilians and Portuguese, and there's countries in Africa that follow us and read us. So that's it. That's it. That's why the name is James Bond Brazil, right? So that's why we are doing this all those years.
It's huge. It's huge. And I know it's an important thing. I mean, for those of you watching too, Eon, the distributors and things like that, they do pay a special nod to certain areas of the geography. And I've always thought that Marcos represents Latin America so beautifully, not just from your content and not just what you write about and talk about, but you yourself are a personality, which I always love when there's somebody that has this like vivacious personality. So how did you get involved with James Bond?
Well, I first got involved with Bond. Actually, it's a really long story because it's since '97, I believe, when GoldenEye. I'm the Brosnan era guy. I'm that kind of guy. So I'm in my mid 30s. So it all began actually with GoldenEye, and not even the movie. It all began with the game. So
Oh, of course.
yeah. So I actually it's a very sad story actually because it was when I lost my father back in '96 and I moved to a different city in Brazil, and like a 11-year-old 12-year-old kid without a father, it's kind of sad, but and I was trying to look to something different in my life, and studying. I was a kid, of course, and all of a sudden I discovered GoldenEye the game, and like 1 week later the movie was released in cable TV. So I watched the movie and I got related with the game because to me the game is exactly like the movie, or the movie is exactly like the game. So it was kind of like to think about it, to an 11-year-old guy to see that was crazy. And actually it was kind of a snowball because I think maybe 5 months before that there was a huge magazine in Brazil that they started to release the VHSs with some magazines from the movies. Like each movie, it has a magazine with behind the scenes stories and pictures and everything. And it all got started there. So I started to buy all those VHSs, and then the story goes on.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I'm finding more and more, and I don't know what it was. Maybe I just never noticed it. People, Bond fans in the Bond community, your age, in your age group, they
Yeah.
really do connect to GoldenEye, the
Yeah.
game. And that's their entry
Yeah.
point. Whereas people in my age group, it was, my father introduced it to me, I got pulled into it. Maybe it was a particular movie, etc.
Yeah.
So you got a little bit of both. You had, the unfortunate circumstance of your father
Yeah.
pulling
Yeah.
you in, but you also had the game pulling you in. So you've got a mix of the two.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, I already had heard about Bond because in open TV, Bond was always around. So I never actually really like watched a proper Bond movie. Stopped and watched a whole movie because like I said, I was a kid.
Right.
So it actually all started with the game, and I really, I'm honest to say that, because the game started. It was my first like thinking about Bond in a different way, and then like I said, I watched the movie, and then I related the movie to the game, because to me, when I watched GoldenEye for the first time on cable TV, I thought to myself, but this movie is exactly like this game, and of course, it was the opposite. So it was crazy, and then like I said, everything, the story talks to itself. So
Yeah, it snowballed from there. So
yeah,
clearly then you've been a part of the Bond community for some time. And
yeah,
we've talked
yeah,
about this. I mean, there are some amazing things in the Bond community, about the Bond community, about our hobby. Talk to me.
yeah.
What are your favorite things about being in this Bond community?
I don't know, Dave, because there's so many things. Because to me, Bond is being part of my life since I was a little kid. So I grew up like being a Bond fan. I'm a journalist because of Bond, because of so all my life like has been molded throughout Bond. So like you said, I'm around in the community, especially in the Bond forums. I know those famous Bond forums since they started, like in the 2021, 22. So it's a long time ago. It's a long time, 2001, 2002. I was saying, and to me, the most fun part of for example, a new Bond production, a new Bond movie, is actually to follow up the entire production. So
Mhm.
this is to me, this is the most fun part. And when everybody asks me how it started, Marcos, how did it all start to you? What was the first movie you saw in cinemas? And to me was The World Is Not Enough, and it's still today to me it's my favorite Bond movie, because it was the first one that I saw in theaters, and it was the first one that I followed through the entire production, since like some websites that doesn't exist anymore. So I followed the entire production. Like, do you remember? I'm sure you remember back in the day, we didn't have like pen drives, we didn't have anything like that. We only have like floppy disks.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I was like in school carrying around like 10 floppy disks with tons of Bond images and stuff like that. So it's crazy, and it's a long journey from then, and
Absolutely.
and after all those years, being involved like I am today in the Bond community, like I'm kind of represent a whole group of fans in Brazil. So it's to me, it's a real honor, it's a real pleasure. Like I don't even know how to thank to everything that happens throughout the years, because like I said, I really represent like a whole group of Bond fans in Brazil. Brazil is a huge country, and of course we have other Bond sites in Brazil. We have like Bondcast Brazil, which is a podcast from one of my friends. We have Universal Bond, that's very active on Instagram, from another friend of mine. So, but James Bond Brazil is actually focused on the news. So it's growing, and it's growing fast. And it's like again, like I said, it's like a snowball. And so that's it. And like answering your question properly regarding the community, I think the most fun part of being a Bond fan, like in the later years, is actually to get it, like to hang around with Bond fans around the globe. So this is really fun, because I was thinking the other day, I was talking with one of the guys when we were in London back in June, that we don't even actually talk about Bond that much. This is kind of crazy.
It's true.
We talk about our lives. We talk about it's crazy. We're not like Bond fans hanging around. We're friends hanging around, and that's the most fun part to me.
It is true. It's almost like Bond connects us and brings us together, but then
Yeah,
that falls away very quickly. We become
yeah,
humans. We talk about
exactly.
work, we talk about, sickness, we talk about family and jobs and things like that. And I agree. I think so almost universally, everybody I talk to in these Bond community interviews have said it's definitely the getting together of people, almost to the point where, events, which, obviously you're going to be a part of more events coming up, events and times together with friends have become even more valuable than the movie itself. It's like, oh, that's right, there's a movie going on. But then you
Yeah,
find these events and times with friends, and it's everything.
yeah. It's cool. Like I said, it's one of the fun parts, because like Brazil is always. Of course, now I'm not living in Brazil anymore. I'm living in Portugal. I'm studying
Mhm.
here, And but Brazil is always far from all the action that happens, in the Bond community. All those events and everything always happens or in the North America or in Europe. So it was always been so far to me. It was always like a distant dream to become part of all these events. And all of a sudden I'm here. I'm in the middle of action. So it's kind of crazy.
You're in the middle of it, man. Buckle up.
Yeah.
It's going to get even crazier.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the wonderful part of the Bond community. This is a bit of a controversial question, but I'm going to ask it. I have to.
Sure.
There's got to be things that bother you about Bond fandom or the Bond community, or maybe even some followers. Like, what irks you?
Oh, that's a good question, David. That I never thought about that before. I think that I don't know, man, because we have, especially in Brazil, especially lately, I'm going to say that with all those crazy news that are coming around about Bond, and especially back in 2015 when Daniel, said that famous phrase that he rather slash his wrists. So yeah, everybody was crazy on our email and our message boxes, like with those fake interviews with like, is this true? Is this true? Is this true? He's not going to return. And I had the opportunity to interview him in Mexico City when I was visiting the Spectre movie set, and I wasn't the one who asked him the question, but I always said to everybody, he will return. Don't worry, he will return, and nobody actually believed me. But I said it because he said that to us in the interview. So and nobody believed me back in the day. So
oh my
that's
God.
it. Story proves itself, right?
That's fantastic.
So I really don't know what really bothers me, David, because I think I never stop to think about it, but I think what really bothers me is that people, especially lately with all those crazy about social media, they believe in anything they read these days.
Yeah.
Of course we're going to, it's like it's talking about the same thing over and over again, but about those fake news stuffs. And I think this is it. The fake news, like they arrived in the Bond community. So it's here, yeah.
It's
here we
very
are.
distracting. I would agree with you. I think every single day, I mean, it's quieting down, thankfully, but 2 weeks ago or a week ago, my email box was filled with people, mostly that I'd never knew or don't know of, saying, David, they announced that, And I'm thinking to myself, nobody announced that. Nobody said that.
Exactly.
I mean, if the Daily Mail is your source, then so be it. I mean, boo on you. But it's definitely very distracting for sure.
And I think to us, especially to me, that I'm specializing on news. It's very different. I was talking with James Bond and Friends, the MI6 podcast, the other day, about the lack of official Bond 25 news, because we don't have almost anything. It's crazy, we always in the last couple of months we only have like one official photo from when we were in London, and that's it. We don't have anything more, and that behind the scenes video from Jamaica. So we don't have anything else. We don't have like official stills. We don't have behind the scenes like vlogs that we used to have for Skyfall and Spectre. We don't have this time around. So it's a different, like, it's a total different production. I don't know if it's because of Universal. I don't know if it's because of Eon after all those Sony leaks from Spectre. I don't know if it's a Cary Fukunaga's move that he likes to work in a more secrecy space. I have no idea, but to us that we are fans and we love to publish stories about Bond 25 and Bond in general, it's really strange this year that we actually don't have so much information to do to our followers. So it's really crazy.
I think they're definitely doing things differently this time. The whole idea of this is not your father's Bond has kind of been this, crescendo internally. And I think they're taking that very seriously with a lot of different things. But yeah, you're right. I wouldn't say no to more. And by the way, we've been using this term, and I know some people kind of back away from it, but it's more of a terminology than anything. Influencer. I mean, it's hard to deny. I mean, you're on a list right now. That you are an influencer that influences geography, age group, brands, events, and things like that. How did you, is there an event or a story in your life where you ran into somebody or somebody said something where you were like, holy cow, James Bond Brazil's on the map. People know who Marcos is. This is a real thing. Was there a story that accompanies that?
Yeah, actually, there was one. It was quite funny, actually. It was in 2015, after I returned from London from the royal premiere of Spectre. Sony Pictures Brazil, they held a premiere in Brazil, and I was attending the Brazilian premiere. And then I attended a Brazilian Bond fan group of a screening of a Bond fans. And it was, to me, it's kind of crazy to say those things, because I don't think that I'm that kind of influencer. I'm just a fan sharing other news and other stuff with other fans. That's what I actually think about it. And then there was two guys that I was waiting like in the line to buy my popcorn and stuff like that. And two guys came up on me and, Marcos, can we take a photo with you? You're Marqueto from James Bond Brasil. And I was like, okay, guys, yeah, sure, let's do it. It was really funny, man. It was really funny. It was the first time, and I thought, oh my God, this is crazy. This is really happening to me.
It doesn't feel like reality.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really happens, yeah.
It does, and it is. It's a weird. First of all, it's a weird name, influencer, and it's happily all the people we met and got to hang out in London and connect with. Nobody takes it too seriously. We're all just fans having fun, and quite frankly, whether we were invited to events or not invited to events, we would keep doing what we're doing anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I said, Dave. I always think to myself that I'm just a fan, like doing a service to other fans. That's all, because especially in other languages, in other countries, all the news, they always come in English. So to me, I need to translate them to Portuguese. I need to create a story, to create an article. And so, like I said, that's why I became a journalist. That's because of James Bond. That's because of James Bond Brasil. After that, I became officially a journalist, a graduated journalist. So it's a little bit more difficult, but I know that I'm being recognized because of that. Everybody, like once in a while, they message me, Marcos, thank you for everything you do for us. Like, you're in the front page of doing this kind of things for the Brazilian fans, and that's what I'm most thankful about it, man. I'm really grateful to all those. It's really cool to be recognized for something you do that you love. So to me, it's a real pleasure. It's a real honor to like being recognized as the Bond guy, the Bond fan that like shares all those stories with the Brazilian community. So it's a really honor for me. Yeah.
And by the way, I should note to everybody watching this, if you do not speak Portuguese, etc., you should still follow James Bond Brasil, because one of the things I love about it is you have a wonderful website, but you have an amazing Instagram. I mean, your Instagram is filled with daily stories and daily images. And if you don't know Marcos like I know him, he is an incredible visual person. So he does a lot of his own visuals. He puts together, he has original content. So even if you don't speak the language, you need to follow this guy. I just needed to say that a little bit.
Oh yeah, thank you.
I don't speak Portuguese, and I've been on here every word.
Exactly. So. Yeah. But like I always say to other fans, David, especially in James Bond Brasil website, we always have Google Translate these days, so it's kind of easier, right?
It makes it so easy. Yeah. All right, here we go. We're gonna play a little game. Okay.
Okay.
Get ready.
Let's do it.
Your phone rings, and you pick it up, and on the other end is Eon. And they say to you, Marcos, thank you so much for representing Latin America and carving out that corner of the world. We appreciate what you do. We are going to give you a magic wand and allow you to be a part of any Bond experience that you want. You could be on set, you could do an interview, you can hang glide with a cigar in your mouth, whatever you want to do. What is the Bond experience that Marcos wants?
Oh, that's a good one, David. That's a real good one. I'm probably going to say something that on all those interviews of the community that you've been made, that I don't think anybody has actually answered that before. Okay. I'm taking my master's course in cinema here in Portugal.
Yes.
So my ultimate dream would be like to work in a Bond movie, in a Bond production. That would be like the ultimate dream of my entire life. Who knows? Maybe in Bond 26, 27. We don't know. I just could be the guy like hanging a microphone, like hanging a light. I don't care, man. My dream job, my dream of my entire life would definitely like work in a Bond production. That by far.
So keep going with that. So what role would you want? Would you want to be like, hanging by Carrie and doing continuity? Like what would you want to do?
I don't know. I never stopped to think about exactly what I want to do in a Bond production, but probably like I really would love to work like in a pre-production, like all those pre-production phases, and then of course during the production. I really don't care any of it's a specific part of the production, but I really want to be like in the game. I'm there. I'm like if you ask me in 5 years time, what's your daily job, Marcos? Well, I'm working the Bond movie. That's my dream. So,
oh my gosh,
who knows, right?
Amazing. Yeah. Even to do it for a day. I mean, Eon, if you're listening to this, please, invite this man for one day on the set. He'll do almost anything. He'll hang a picture. It sounds like almost anything.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be like dream. Yeah, it would be a dream of my lifetime. So I could die happy after that.
I'm the same way. I think one of the things, I kept it really simple. I just said, look, I just want to be some background extra. So many people have been background extras. I'll sweep. I don't care. I'll do anything.
You can you even sweep the air like in Quantum Guy?
I can sweep the air. Yeah, I won't make a sweeping noise. I swear to God. All right. So let's talk about one of the things that you got to be a part of when you were in London is you were part of Secret Cinema, a really well-renowned brand. Secret Cinema was amazingly immersive. And then the next day, you went to several of the brands that are very well known, maybe even will show up in Bond 25, who knows?
Yeah.
What do you think of the way, if you think about it, and you didn't know I was going to ask this, so I'm throwing this totally at a curveball. The brands of Bond, the way Bond has branded itself, do you think it's evolved over time? Is it becoming more brand oriented? Do you think it's becoming a little bit more authentic? Is it like ramming it down our throats? What do you think about the brand aspect to James Bond?
It's a really good question as well, David. Yeah, I think that I'm not sure if it really evolved because the brands has always been like tied with Bond throughout the history. The brands there's always been in the franchise since the beginning. So I think to me when you ask me those questions about brands, I really think it's a Daniel Craig thing. It's a Daniel Craig era that's totally different. Especially to me, I never I'm being totally honest about it. I never really stopped to think about the brands and to look about the brands, to look about the clothing and the watches and everything before Casino Royale. It wasn't something I got really interested about it. And after Daniel stepped in as Bond in 2005, it all became totally different because the brands are almost like, because if you remember correctly, in Tomorrow Never Dies and The World's Not Enough and stuff like that, Die Another Day, we always have like Omega, we have like BMW or Aston, we have an Smirnoff vodka, and that's basically it. I didn't know any of the brands, the clothing that Bond was wearing back in the day.
Yeah.
And when I see a poster, of course, thanks to you, thanks to Remmert from Bond Lifestyle, when I see a poster like in the same day, I know which which clothes Bond's wearing. It's kind of crazy, and I think this is like we always keep saying there's always a fan for a different type of content in the Bond world. So, and I really think that the brand, the Bond brand fans are really growing up so hugely. We have Matt Spacers from the Suits of James Bond, and it's the job this guy is doing it's amazing. It's amazing because we know like I said, we know which clothes he's wearing, which shoes he's wearing, and this is crazy. You can of course it's your specialty, I would say. You can dress yourself exactly like Bond. Exactly. This is. It's not being like those crazy fans. It's not cosplay. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing to do with that. But you can actually live the Bond lifestyle because of those involvements with the brands lately. And I think this is fantastic. I think it's all. I think when you have much more of this involvement and with the production, with the marketing, the film, with the brands everybody wins. So that's
I agree. I think that's, first of all, incredibly observant and intuitive of you. You can tell you're a journalist. I will say also what I love about today. I think it's evolved in the standpoint of, you said everybody kind of has their, they had their tabs. You know, there were literary Bond guys, there were movie Bond guys, there were production people, there were what I call Bond lifestylers and things like that. I see them kind of mixing in together. I mean, some don't. I mean, some are just like, what the is a Bond lifestyler, and keep them over there. But there are some people that are really integrating together, which is so phenomenal. Really good.
I think it's great because, you know, there's a couple of friends in Brazil that they're following James Bond Brazil. I'm sure they're following you. And I usually, like, I'm recently saw some photos, and those guys are really dressed up as Bond, like, using like a sunspell, using like an ampule. So I was like, oh my God, this guy's really into it. So it's kind of cool. It's growing up. The brands are growing up in the Bond community. I'm sure about that.
It's an evolution for sure. And
I think it's totally evolution from film to film. Don't you think? It's kind of, you know,
totally.
Yeah. Of course we have in Casino, we have in Quantum, Skyfall, and Spectre, and it started growing up like especially now. I think we like I said before, we know the name of the brands. So it's especially myself that I'm not into this. I'm not into it. This kind of like I wasn't into this kind of stuff. And like I said, when I see like the new trailer, the Bond 25 trailer, oh my God, Bond's wearing a Croc and John shoes. Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah. And what I love about it too is the brands are so reciprocal and so appreciative. Literally, I don't know, you know, when this is going to air, but yesterday, for example, we posted a review of the new sunglasses that he wears from Barton Pereira, and put it up there. Within 10 hours, the company, Barton Pereira, who made the sunglasses, contacted me. You know, we're so appreciative, so humbled, you know, by everything going on, etc. And I love that. I love that there's a communication. I mean, you go back to, like, you're talking about Die Another Day. I couldn't even imagine these companies connecting with little old us. So it really is an evolution for sure. And speaking of evolution, we have to ask a big question, and it's kind of the big crescendo question. So for those of you who just met Marcos today on this Bond community, good for you. You want to follow him. What an amazing character in the Bond world. But there's a lot of people that know about you and have followed you for a long time. So what does the future hold for James Bond Brazil? What's the vision? Where do you want to take it?
That's another girl. So always, oh my God, all those questions. Great. Yeah. That's a great one, David. I think, I don't know, man. You know, I'm really that kind of humble guy. You know, I really like to do my job, like, you know, not keeping a low profile, but, you know, doing what I have been doing all those years, like providing news and content especially in Portuguese for Bond fans in Brazil and Portuguese speaking market countries. So that's what I really want to keep up doing. So I really want to do, like, you know, be involved, like, again, like I said, be involved on those events with other fans around the globe. This is one of the coolest parts, like we were talking about. And that's it. I wanted to be involved as much as I can and sharing news and stuff, like everything related to Bond and James Bond Brazil, Instagram, Facebook, website, Twitter, everywhere. And that's it. I really want to, like, keep doing my job. I think like I said, I'm trying to be humble here, but I think I'm doing like it's a cool job. I really like it. It's not actually a job. It's a hobby, but it's a hobby. A passion. It's been taken so serious. So that's it. I want to continuing to do this kind of stuff to our readers, to the fans. It's like I said. I'm going to say. I'm trying to. You know, I'm being repetitive here, but it's a fan job to another fan. So it's a fan service to another fan. That's it. That's basically what I'm doing and what I'm going to keep up doing throughout the years. Let's see what future holds to us. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I personally, because I love what you do and I love the connection points. I would love to see you at more events. I would love to see you more part of different things. You know, we hear through the grapevine that October James Bond Global Day is going to be a big kickoff of events for everyone. You know, not just people that have vlogs like us,
for the fans.
Everyone. And number one, I'd love to see you at more of those. Number two, I'd love to experience those with you, because I think we have such a good time. And again, it's so hard to get in 30 minutes an idea of what a person's like. But you're such a genuine, authentic, and I'm just going to say this, like, nice guy. Like
Thank you.
there are good guys who do this. There are passionate people, enthusiastic, but genuinely a nice guy that thinks about others. And that's gosh, I mean, if we could fill the entire Bond community with people like that, that would be my magic wand moment.
Thank you, man. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been like like I said, it's really been an honor to being like the representative, the representative of the Brazilian Bond community in all those events and all those things that I've been doing throughout the years. So think about it. I often stop to think this I would never think about that, like when I was 15 years old, that one day I would visit a James Bond set that I was inspector in Mexico City. So when I was there, it was really kind of emotional, like, what the hell am I gonna do? I'm really here. It was great. I'm 2 feet away from Sam Mendes, like filming the movie. I'm talking with Daniel Craig. I'm talking with the producers. So it was a huge experience, and I really hope that this kind of things and experiences continue throughout the movies. Even after Daniel steps out, like in the next one, we don't know. I really hope this continues, because like I'm always say, and I'm always keep saying this, it's a passion, David. I don't do it for business. I don't do it for money. It's a passion. James Bond is my life. And I'm sure it's going to be through the rest of my days. So that's it. I'm a really huge Bond fan. That's it. That's what I'm doing.
That's great. I think we're all cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, my friend, we're going to let you get back to that passion and back to your day job.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for sharing this today. This has been great. This has been David Zaritsky and Marcos from James Bond Brasil. Go check out the links below and follow his every step. Stalk him. And we will see you all very soon. Take care. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.